property tax burden on homeowners has increased more than 200%, while the average household income in Arlington has increased around 50%. It is great that our house values have gone up substantially, but that doesn't help us pay our tax bill. When will the county board stop the insanity of budget increases? We'll just keep going clockwise.
Well, I definitely sympathize with that question. My tax bill has gone up by more than 100% over the past 6 years, and unfortunately, my income has not quite gone up 50%. In fact, it's gone up 0% in the same time. So I'm definitely feeling the increased tax burden, and I really do appreciate the fact that the county began 2 years ago a tax rebate for Arlingtonians who qualify, who earn less than a certain amount of money. But that rebate is not enough, and there's no reason why the county can't set a lower tax rate. I understand that the county has to assess at 100% of fair market value, but the county still has control over the rate at which they set that assessment. Now, I don't think that the assessment should grow faster than inflation. And I don't think middle class, working class, and residents on fixed incomes should have to pay more than 5% of their gross household income. Even 5%, I think, is quite substantial. But for people who earn much less than the county's median income, which is now the 6th highest in the entire nation for a county of its size, we are now a super wealthy county. And we have to come to grips with what that means for people who earn much less than the median income level. Do we want them in Arlington? Do we want to maintain our economic diversity? Or do we want to transform ourselves into an exclusively upper income community? Now, I know which side I stand on. And the county board says that they stand on the side of diversity. But the fact is that they've been working with developers to approve these multi-huge complexes with very little affordability, and which drives up everyone's tax rates. That's what happens. It doesn't matter if you're just paving over a parking lot. When you put in these luxury projects, everyone's rates go up. The whole neighborhood becomes more attractive to developers to come in. So we've got to put a stop to it.
Did everyone answer that question?
Well, my assessment's gone up a whole heck of a lot too. Since 2000, the assessment of my house more than tripled. So I certainly understand the impact of the growth in assessments. There are a couple of things that you need to understand that are not, well, that I'd say are counterintuitive. It is true, as Josh says, that we can control the rate, so we can lower the rate. That's right. However, in Virginia, we have to have the exact same rate applied to residential and to commercial property, unlike a lot of other states where they either have a different rate or you have a homestead exemption or something like that. So what that means is that if half the tax base is commercial and half of it's residential, as it was 10 years ago, when the assessments go up really high for residential property, that's us homeowners, but the commercial property doesn't go up so much. In order to cut the rate enough for us homeowners to be able to, say, pay the same or a little bit more, we have to actually cut it for commercial, which is a lot of what happened over the last 10 years. And that's part of the problem. That's why now it's not 50-50, it's 60-40. That isn't good, but what it means is that in cutting the rate, as we have, because we've been cutting the rate a lot, but not enough to offset the bills we homeowners pay, we're still restricting the amount of funds. The amount of funds, the revenue that the government has in revenue has not grown by the amount assessments have. That's why we push hard for homestead exemption, which I'm hoping the state will allow us to do. That's why we created targeted tax relief, as Josh referred to, for seniors in particular, and for the disabled, and for people with lower incomes. Those basically working within the law, what the state will allow us to do, we pushed it to the maximum. so that we can try and ensure that people who really would be pushed out of their homes by taxes won't be, because if that's the case, they won't have to pay the taxes. So we have the most generous targeted tax relief that you'll find in any local government around. Fortunately, the good news is the crazy real estate market couldn't go on forever, and it's not. And already this year, we're seeing that those assessments turn around, so the commercial is running ahead of residential. And that will begin to bring us back, which is why I don't agree that it's a crisis coming. I actually think it's going to be a lot easier for us to budget when we have more stability, we have commercial rates growing faster than residential for a while, which is overdue.
Well, folks, I promise you I will raise your taxes next year. I think that there has to be some kind of fiscal reality put in place in this county, given the fact that the budget has gone up $400 million over the last 5 years. And you've got to ask the question, do we really need a $1 billion budget in this county? And should the tax burden be placed on us homeowners as high as it is? Chris doesn't believe that fiscal crisis is coming, but I believe that there is a fiscal crisis coming because the amount of the assessment rates are falling, and that means that what they're going to have to do to keep this government in place is raise our taxes, and the tax cut on the residential homeowner won't be nearly as great next year. And I feel your pain too, because my tax rate has tripled over the last 5 years, like all the rest of these gentlemen on this panel. But you have to realize that this board did not take into account during those 5 years where it was making money faster than we could ever imagine to set aside any of those dollars. There's no rainy day fund out there. You know, in FY05, I sit on FAC and I realized that we had a $4 million surplus. And instead of putting that money to tuck it away somewhere for a rainy day, this board decided to spend it all. Now, if you take a look at the revenue sharing plan of the schools too, you have to ask the question, why is it set up this way? Because the board didn't want to make those hard decisions. Because what it comes down to in the revenue sharing plan with this board is the fact that it's 6 lines on an Excel spreadsheet. They wave a magic wand across it and they move it along, but nobody goes down and takes a look in the weeds to see what is actually happening with that money. Did you know last year there was a $15 million surplus in the school board budget, because that money was applied to the school board? Believe me, I went to good schools in this county. I have 2 children in this school. But you also have to ask about the fiscal responsibility of how those dollars are being spent, and the school board can't spend all those dollars. So you've got to ask, why are we in this place that we are today? Can we put some restraints on this? And can we do something for the actual people who bear the burden in this county and the real tax base? Thank you.